In 2006, a cinematic trailer was shown following an armoured man navigating through the wreckage of a city. As fire emits off buildings and cars, smoke fills the sky, almost blocking out the sun. The ground begins to collapse in the distance, moving closer while the rain begins to fall as he flees, transitioning into night as the downpour consumes the alleyway. A figure stands upon rubble before this man launches himself through a window to safety, being met with hundreds of glows before this titan of limbs edges into the light. Bullets pepper its body before it brings its legs down on this man, fading to black as the words Gears of War appear, with this gritty red logo of skull in a cog. Unfortunately, I can't have the music playing over this, but it was Gary Jules' cover of Mad World, a song that collectively elevated this scene with its soft somber piano and sadness carried by its lyrics. Such an iconic trailer that introduced us to the world of Gears of War before we could even get our hands on it, and it's seen as one of the most legendary trailers of the 2000s. But so much has happened between the original trailer and the release of Gears of War Reloaded, and as a fan I couldn't simply speak about this game without paying respect to where it all came from. I'm just going to briefly go over some things about the game and how it is without falling too in depth about it, as this is more of a review on how well it plays. And Gears of War Reloaded is exactly what it says on the tin. It's a technical enhanced version of Gears of War Ultimate Edition running across Xbox, PlayStation and PC, with crossplay being a day one guarantee. This also comes with 4K resolution, 60 FPS in campaign, 120 FPS in multiplayer, and improved audio, refresh rates and textures. This doesn't feel great in terms of what you're paying for. Gears of War Ultimate Edition came out 10 years ago, so they've basically touched up a remaster of the original. The bones underneath are still that original Gears though. They did add more stuff, but I'll get onto that later. Now, I personally tried the game on both Xbox and PC, while opinions on how it runs on PlayStation is coming from a friend of mine. Now on Xbox it's just flawless, it runs exactly like you would expect and anything other than that would be unacceptable. Now PC on the other hand has had a few issues, one being the fact that if you log into Xbox through Steam this can cause the game to crash on startup. Navigating the installation folders and removing certain folders has proved to be the only remedy for this. Fingers crossed this will get patched soon as this prevents co-op and online play. Another issue that comes with the Steam version is changing your graphics settings also leads to the game to crash, with the solution people have found being yet again removing key folders. Now playing Gears of War on PC through Xbox app has led to no issues whatsoever. It's basically exactly the same as the Xbox version. A friend of mine gave me his experience on the PS5 version of Gears of War Reloaded and he says the game runs fine. He hasn't noticed or seen anything that's running badly and the online feels good too. So it would seem like the main issue that comes with playing Gears of War Reloaded are only present on Steam, which has rather underwhelming player counts, but that doesn't change the fact that this shouldn't be the case. Love it or hate it, the Ultimate Edition was a solid remaster of the original with its added 5 chapters to Act 5 in story missions that were only available if you played Gears of War when it was first released in 2007 on PC. They also gave you all the DLC maps included, characters, cosmetic and some new modes. It's kind of a mess it went about like this, but nevertheless Gears of War Reloaded is basically a launch for PlayStation and PC. People who bought Gears of War Ultimate Edition digitally before May 2005 got it for free. The wording is weird though, as it says as a token of gratitude to long-time fans. May 2025. Long-time fans? Alright. My main point here is Reloaded comes as a complete package that has everything this Gears game ever had to offer. Let's talk briefly on how the campaign is. It still has that jank to it. Like it's not bad, it's just a product of its era. It's old rusty charm. The game does play well though, like mechanically I didn't have any issues that weren't user errors, so basically my fault. Now the additional elements brought to the table by having this visual upgrade is it looks prettier, or more grim I should say, with each texture bringing the modern graphic expectation to life. Now Gears of War games are beautiful and gritty, in motion. Stopping and looking at graphics is not where this game looks its best. It's the action, the constant powering forward as Delta Team works to handle the threat of the Locust. The firefights always look intense because your focus is around the crosshair. It's more when you slow it down the cracks begin to surface, but graphics aren't everything. I still had a blast playing through this game even though I experienced it through my life countless times. The campaign captures that nostalgia that they were aiming for and that's what I came for. I wanted to relive that epic story that had me captivated when I was younger, fighting a war against an army that felt impossible to win. It matched all the highs that I had the first time I played and had me booting my Xbox just to install Gears of War 2 to continue where I left off. My final thoughts on the campaign is it's a remaster, a relaunch really. The story doesn't change, but it's still everything the first Gears of War game was, with a fresh coat of paint and some technical improvements. So the campaign is everything I wanted it and needed it to be. What about the multiplayer? The multiplayer is more frantic. It's not hard-coded AI moving from place to place. It's people who can also perfectly reload for better damage, aggressively push and strategize to create opportunities to turn you into paste. There is a lot of movement tech that is heavily relied on to become an unstoppable force. Jumping into an arena-styled map and working to win objectives is a blast, especially if you can find that Gears of War rhythm for movement. My main concern with Gears of War multiplayer is that people who really love the multiplayer are cracked. Like, they fundamentally know how to avoid your up close and personal shotgun blasts before turning you into a stain on any close surface, or how to close the distance faster than seems possible. Gears of War high skill ceiling becomes a double-edged sword that can really filter out players. I enjoyed Gears of War Online before, but once you get someone who simply is the meat grinder of players, it becomes really difficult to stay invested in the grind. Now, I've fallen out of love with multiplayer games nowadays, but I have always felt this way about Gears Online. This is a skill issue take, but I just don't have the desire to be someone who hits lines of G Fuel before hitting a pentakill. One of the key things to Gears of War games is undoubtedly the weapons. They all carry this vicious buck to them. The revolver and sniper explode skulls, the Gnasher shotgun turns people into limb confetti, and the Lancer, the weapon that sinks its teeth into everyone surgically, separating into two halves. Even if you have your go-to weapons, swapping out and making do with what's around you really captures what Gears is like to play. It's basically mandatory if you play on Insane, as enemies just have so much health. Unfortunately, Gears of War Reloaded feels hollow in comparison to other games of the series. Horde mode was never in the first Gears of War game, and frankly it would be rather boring considering how limited the enemies are in the first title. You have your standard Locust wielding shotguns, assault rifles or snipers, wretches in the normal and Lambert variants, boomers and Theron guards, and that's it. While you could argue that this is enough for making the Horde mode work, I just don't see it. Personally, I don't understand why they hadn't focused getting the first 3 games in a collection and selling it at a higher price, especially since they're trying to reach a new audience, or old ones that don't use Xbox hardware. I just think this would have drummed up more hype for Gears of War E-Day than releasing the most bare bones Gears of War game with no extra content. I do get it, make it a 1-for-1 and don't add anything, then when they release 2 the jump will be so noticeable. I love Gears of War, but this was such a missed opportunity in my eyes as they were selling a revamped version of a remaster of the original. Playing Gears of War Reloaded reminded me of how much of a fan I was of this game and series. I had a zip-through hoodie that had like a headshot blood splatter in the hood, a Gears logo on the chest and a Lancer on the back, a beanie in a bag with the logo and name on it, and a wallet that has stood the test of time as I only stopped using it this year. Playing this made me nostalgic for those easier times in life. Now in 2025 we know this man is Marcus Phoenix, a staple of the series. This logo is equally as iconic as you see it every time you die. And finally Sarah. It's often an overlooked part of Gears of War's story, but it's the rich world created through games and books that flesh out what this planet is. No matter any gripes I have with this game, it's still a potent reminder of the franchise and where it started. This new release allows a new audience to try out the series if they never got to when it was locked to Xbox, while also being an opportunity for those who want to play it again who have been around since the original trailer. Gears of War Reloaded isn't perfect, but it's certainly worth playing and experiencing. Anyway, I hope you have a lovely day and or evening, and I'll catch you next time.